You should have a little message come up.
Got it, yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, so hi and welcome to this episode of the Dating Couch podcast. I am so excited today because I am joined by the amazing Sarah Gilfillan. And we have got so much in store for you today. We're talking all about clothes and styling and all that exciting stuff. So Sarah is a personal stylist for men and founder of the menswear style consultancy Sartoria Lab. She provides personal shopping, personal styling, wardrobe edits, etc., specifically for men who want to look good and have no idea where to start. So she is an amazing helping hand for those people. So what we're going to do today is we're going to have a chat to Sarah about where she came from, what she does, and any advice that she's got for our lovely over 50 singles out there. So welcome, Sarah. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, Melinda. Lovely to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're more than welcome. So I thought what we'd do is we'd start off with just a little introduction. So if you can tell our viewers and listeners, kind of, I feel like I'm on the X-Files, who you are, where you come from. So just kind of a little bit about you and your journey and what brought you to setting up Sartoria Lab and, you know, all of that good stuff.
Yeah, so my name's Sarah Gilfillan, as you said. So I'm based in London, and I have had Sartoria Lab for about 13, 14 years now. Wow. So I set up specifically for men because before this I was working on photo shoots. So I was still a stylist, but a fashion stylist working on photo shoots, which is very, very different to dressing real, inverted commas, people. It's basically you're there to create a theme and the model is there to make anything look good. So I was dressing models. They look good in a bin bag. You don't have to take into consideration their likes and dislikes, etc. So it's very different. But I ended up working a lot in menswear there. Okay. And then when I got to, so I did that for probably 10, 15 years or so. And I'd done a colours course in doing what colours suit people years and years ago when I was sort of in my mid-20s. And I really enjoyed doing that. But what I'd found was I was living in London, but it wasn't a very fashionable thing to do at the time. And it was like, you know, it was sort of like an older demographic that wanted to have it done. And I was younger at the time. So I was ending up going back to Sussex. And it was my mum's really into having her. We all had our colours done, me and her and my sister, when we were young. So she's really into it and she could sell it to anyone. So I ended up doing sort of all her friends, but I was kind of traveling in between London and Sussex. And I thought this isn't for me at the time. So I went off and started working on photo shoots, which was great for a while. And then when I got to about 40, I thought I needed to change. I got a bit fed up with doing that. And so I went to see a life coach, which was amazing, really helped. And just to sort of decide what to do. And I decided on this path of kind of going back to, you know, doing people's colours and turning out their wardrobes and things. And yeah, so it felt like a natural progression really to do it for men because I've been working on lots of menswear when I was doing styling on photo shoots. Right. So, and also there wasn't very much set up just purely aimed at men.
I think that's still the case.
Yeah, I think that's still the case. And it's definitely still the case that there's not very many women that work with just guys. There's other guys that work with men, but there's not very many women. So, and I think actually there's quite a few guys that want a women's opinion. So, especially if they're single and they're sort of thinking, you know, if they're dating, you know, women looking to date women, it's like they're wondering what a woman will think of that. So yeah, I think it worked out really well from that perspective. Yeah, so it kind of felt like a natural kind of progression really. And it's really nice because I just love what I discovered when I was doing my coaching was I really love helping people. And that's what had been missing from the styling on photo shoots was fun. And I got to travel lots and it was quite glamorous sometimes, but I wasn't really helping anyone. So now I'm doing this. I just feel like I've sort of found myself again. And also the other thing that really helped is sort of during that period of time, lots of makeover shows and stuff were on TV. So it became those Trinity Susanna, and there was Gok Wan, and so all those sort of things were happening. So it became a kind of a more fashionable thing to do, I suppose. There's a lot of agencies set up for women, and yeah, so it felt like the right time to do it. And I guess now there's lots of, there are lots more personal shoppers. People know what a stylist is now, whereas before I used to say to people, I'm a stylist, and they would say, what's that? Is that a hairdresser? And now people are much more aware of what a stylist actually is and does. Although there's still some people who go, oh, I've never met a stylist before, which kind of amazes me, but yeah.
And there's still, I think you mentioned there, like some of the makeover shows and that kind of thing. And they're still very much aimed at women, aren't they?
They are, yeah. You do get the odd, you sort of get the token guy in there.
Yeah.
And what sort of annoys me actually sometimes is when you see those makeover shows, they show them, they do the classic before and afters. They show them in a casual outfit and then they put them in a suit. But to me, that's sort of, it's like, you're not going to wear a suit everywhere. And that's kind of an easy transformation. What I think is actually harder to do, which is what I tend to always help people with, is smart casual, or even casual, but slightly on the smarter side of things than you'd wear around the house and, just to do your errands. But if you're going on a casual date, for instance, you want to make a little bit more effort, but you're not going to turn up in a suit, are you? It's going to look ridiculous. So it's sort of, that is the harder bit to do, I think. Anyone can put a suit on and look pretty good, generally, as long as it fits right. But yeah, so that's what sometimes when I see those shows, you're like, well, that's kind of not really helpful to people.
Yeah. Your average person's not going to put a suit on to, go to Starbucks and grab a coffee or do a school run or that sort of thing.
Yeah. And I think less and less guys are wearing suits now as well. So yeah, so it's more that smart casual bit, which is kind of the difficult bit to do.
Oh, 100%, because you always, well, I don't know about any of our viewers or listeners, but if I get an invitation somewhere and the dress code is smart casual, it instantly strikes fear and dread into me, because you don't, well, how smart, how casual, where do you draw that line?
It's a really wide area, isn't it? It's sort of like there's the smarter end of smart casual, the more casual end, and can you wear jeans and can you wear trainers, and it's like it's such a wide area to cover that it's no wonder people kind of get confused. I think it's easy to get confused, and then they sort of go, oh, okay, let me mix these formal trousers with this casual t-shirt, and then that's too far up the sort of scale of it. It's like one's kind of too formal, it doesn't really go with that really casual thing, so it's kind of get very confusing. But it keeps me in business, I have to say. People confused. Sorry.
Yeah. It's good. That's where you come in and help them. So tell me a little bit about, so the name Sartoria Lab, where did that come from?
Well, yeah, so I racked my brains because my name's Sarah Gilfillan. As we were just discussing earlier, everyone gets it wrong. It's kind of hard to spell. Even my friends from like my school days, some of them still get it wrong. I get birthday cards and like, you put an extra I in there. You know me for years now. So I didn't want to have it my own name. I wanted to have something else. And so sartorial is kind of always associated more with menswear and Savile Row tailoring, and it means tailoring, I think, in Italian. It also sounds a little bit like Sarah, so I kind of like that sort of connection. And then I did ask a few people, actually. I sort of did a little survey before I sent out my before I sort of decided on the name, and actually, one of my friends who's a writer, he was actually really helpful. And then I decided to say lab because I thought men think that clothes are quite fluffy and it's a girl's thing. And lab to me sounded like it was a little bit more serious and a bit more, it's not exactly scientific, I wouldn't say, but it's just a bit more thought out. It's not so fluffy, I think, is what I wanted to get away from. So that's that was how it came together. And actually, I still quite like it. Although lots of people do say Sartoria Lab, but Anyway, that's okay. That's fine. But yeah, I still like it actually. I'm happy with it. You know, you've got to sit with it for a little while for it to kind of you know, for you to know that you're not going to hate it in 5 years time. So
and you obviously haven't, because you're 13, 14 years down the line. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I think that's it. It's odd that you mentioned like the scientific part in there. I think a lot of the men that we work with do find the whole experience of, you know, knowing how to dress. It's like some kind of scientific formula for them. They just can't kind of get their head around it, and they always feel it's more easy, you know, it's much easier for women and what have you, but you know, it's not always the case. But I think, you know, a lot of people that we deal with find themselves single after a long period of time, and a lot of the men that we work with as well, you know, it's always their wives or long-term partners who have picked out their clothing, and they've come out into singledom and they're completely lost.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the case. And also they're sort of probably going on dates, you know, they haven't done that sort of thing. Maybe they haven't had to dress for that sort of situation. And yeah, they've got nobody to ask. Because what I think is, a lot of women, you might ask your girlfriends, and you might even WhatsApp them a picture and say, what do you think of this outfit for my date? Even the older sort of demographic are kind of much more likely to do that. They might go shopping to clothes, but the guys aren't. Younger guys perhaps, but older guys definitely, well, I'd say 99% of them aren't going to say, WhatsApp a picture to their mate and go, what do you think of this outfit for my date? Are they? So I think, like you say, they're completely lost. They might have, the shops have probably completely changed. Some of them might have closed down from where they used to go regularly. And then sometimes what I find is, if the whole sort of silhouette, so I think in menswear things change much more slowly than in women's wear, but you notice that sort of the whole silhouette has changed. So it has been for the past, I don't know, 10 years probably at least, everything went really, really skinny, a much slimmer cut, and all the jackets were shorter. It's kind of changing a little bit now. But what I find is, if you then go and try and buy one thing that you sort of think is a bit more up to date, then it doesn't go with the rest of your wardrobe. And then you know, that's a whole, or you haven't got the shoes to go with it. So that's a whole confusion as well. But yeah, I think you're right. It's like you suddenly come out of that situation, and people, I mean, actually I have dressed guys, and now they found single guys, and now they found people, and now they're like, well, my wife's my personal shopper now. So yeah, definitely happens. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's definitely confusing when they get to, it's like, where do I go? You know, and lots of people say they walk into Selfridges and get completely overwhelmed because there's just so much stuff in there.
There's so much choice.
Yeah, that's where I come.
And I think,
guide them.
You know, I remember, you know, if we think of the kind of the age demographic that we deal with, the last time they were single, it could have been when they were in their 20s, you know, and we're 30, 40, 50 years down the line, you know. And I think before it was much simpler, because you wouldn't have had to you wouldn't have had to consider those silhouettes or anything like that. And even things like when you go into a shop and you want to buy jeans, I mean, that in itself is, you know,
a minefield.
Yeah, there's so many cuts, there's so many fits, there's, you know, there's just so much choice out there, and you know, people just get so confused on, well, I just don't even know where to start. So for you, I guess,
and then even
sorry,
if it's brands, you know, like Slim Fit in one brand is going to be completely different in another brand, isn't it? So it's very, and
I think it's definitely an age thing as well. You know, it's they want to look more up to date.
Yeah,
they want to look like they've made an effort in most cases, but they don't want to feel that they're not dressing their age. And I think that's kind of another whole kind of
another layer.
Yeah,
they don't want to look silly. I had a guy actually recently who was a client a long time ago, and then he came back to me recently because I'd put on my blog and in my newsletter that goes out to him, I'd put this over shirt, so it's sort of in between a jacket and a shirt, and he really liked it, but he got in contact. He was like, I want to, and we did an online session because he's like, I really like that jacket, but I was like, and he's 64, I think. And he's like, I really like it, but I didn't know what to wear it with, or whether I'm too old for it, and actually then he did buy it. And he sent me a picture afterwards, and it looked amazing on him. I thought it looked so cool. And he kind of layered it with some stuff underneath, and it looked great on him. So yeah, I think it was definitely, it looked modern, but it didn't look like he was trying too hard.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a definite, you don't want to look like that guy that's, you know, sort of really trying to sort of relive his youth. And
Yeah.
Because you automatically think he's not happy with where he is in his life if they're dressed really young, do you? You're automatically going to think, yeah, he's, you know, he's trying to be someone he's not, and that's, yeah, sort of lots of connotations there.
And I think that is an amazing point, because I think sometimes, you know, especially again with the demographic that we work with, I don't think people understand the strength in the clothing that you're wearing, you know, and the impression that it gives to people. You know, you mentioned there about if somebody's dressing way too young, then, you know, people can think that they're not comfortable with where they are, and they're trying to either hark back to a younger day when they felt more confident, or felt, you know, whatever they felt. But I guess for you, how do you get that over to people, and you know, what you're wearing is sending a message that's not the message you want to be sending?
Yeah, well, try and be tactful for a start.
Obviously, yes.
Yeah. So I'm never going to be like Trini and Susanna and you know, go through, oh my God, what's this doing in your wardrobe? I'm never going to be that person. It's like, okay, that served you at a certain time. There's probably better things out there for you now. But I don't know. Actually, I'm sure you've probably heard it. I don't know how many people have heard it, but it only takes 7 seconds to make a first impression. And actually, I've heard that it's probably possibly even less than that. So when you walk through that door on your date, if somebody hasn't seen a picture of you, especially beforehand, that person is going to form an impression of you immediately. And you might say, yeah, that's really judgmental, but you're doing it subconsciously. You don't even realize you're doing it. So we're all doing it to everyone. So it's like you're forming an opinion about that person by what they're dressed in. And I just think you're sort of putting yourself on a back foot, really. If you don't pay attention to it, it might be quite hard for you to, I think it's hard for you to see yourself, how other people do. And that's, I suppose that's where it's beneficial. When I started, I thought, is it going to be hard to dress people that I don't know at all? And sorry,
hear the barking in the background. Sorry.
Oh, I didn't hear.
Oh, that's all right. The dog's just a leaf flown past the window or something. The dog's just gone.
And it's gone ballistic.
Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry, you were saying.
Yeah, so I sort of think it's quite hard for you to see yourself as other people do. So when I first started, I was thinking, is it hard to sort of, you know, just kind of meet someone and go, okay, yeah, analyze them. But actually, I think it's beneficial to have someone that doesn't know you, because I look at them and like, look at their body shape, look at their colouring. You know, yes, I get them to fill in a questionnaire. So I want to, to find out what they kind of aspire to look like. And then I can sort of base my research and everything and what I would suggest to that person on that. But it's much harder to do that for yourself. So I was doing a little wardrobe edit for myself yesterday, and it's so much harder. And I was trying to do it as if I was sort of my own client. And you can't sort of get that distance that you need from yourself. When you're trying to do it, you can't really tell if things look dated. You can't really tell if they look worn. It's really hard to do it yourself. So I think it's having someone that doesn't know you just sort of assess you in a nice way, and suggest things that might be better, because it's not until, you know what it's like, sometimes you buy a new pair of trainers and you go, oh God, look how awful my old ones look. I didn't realize they look. So it's kind of like once you compare something, you might get a new jacket and you're like, oh yeah, actually that looks so much better than my old one. I didn't even realize. But yeah, so it's so I guess it's that sort of suggestion of how I can help them, and so I suppose getting them to see how much better they could look, or how a different color might make them be noticed more, or get them compliments and stuff like that. Because guys, a lot of the time, I feel they don't take into account what colors they're wearing. They just go the safest ones often, because they don't know what else to wear. So what I think, so I do like a color and style consultation. So I feel like it kind of puts them in a box. Yes, they don't have to stay in that box if they don't want to. But what I find is if you narrow down the selection a bit, it'll almost open it up, because they'll go, oh, okay, so now I know that I can definitely wear that color and that color, but I don't go near those ones, because you've sort of narrowed down the selection. And then they can go into it and go, okay, I'm going to go towards the, you know, these sort of greens, because that's what someone told me looked good on me. And I've seen it, you know, sometimes I do, like, I've got color drapes, so I put it against their faces to compare. And you can really see, like, sometimes it'll kind of drain people of all their color. And other times it'll sort of literally like look like they've had a facelift, and like bring out their eyes and stuff like that. So yeah, that stuff like that can make a really big difference, and people often don't realize that, but yeah. It's a big difference.
Do you find that, because I'm guessing from what you were saying about, you know, kind of narrowing it down for people, do you find that there's like a secondary gain there, and sometimes you can actually give people, it's almost like getting people to be braver with their clothing choices?
Yeah, definitely. I think by narrowing it down, you almost sort of free them up a bit, because then they've just got much more of a sort of path to take, and just more direction in what they're looking for. If they're going shopping on their own, yeah, they've just got much more direction. And so yeah, it opens things up for them. By narrowing it's sort of ironic, really, isn't it? But by narrowing it down, it opens up the selection of, okay, stay in, you know, this kind of section, and yeah, you know, choose these types of things, and you'll be fine. Stay away from, you know, big logos or whatever it is. Or sometimes it's just analyzing as well, or verifying. So what I find as well is I look at people's style personalities. So some people, you know, you might have got that, I don't know, jacket or whatever, jumper or something. You're like, oh, I love that. It feels so me. And it might be the color, it might be the sort of fabric and texture, it might be the shape, or it might be all those things put together. So kind of looking at that. So some people like to look, you know, super kind of sleek and put together, or someone might want to look like George Clooney, you know, very classic, nothing stands out, but he looks very kind of he always, you know, you can never go, he looks awful. I mean, yes, he's good guy, but he puts his clothes together, they look expensive and chic. Or you might be more sort of Jeff Goldblum, who looks much more out there, and he's sort of more daring. And or you might be more sort of, I don't know, someone like Paul Newman, who I would say is more kind of a bit more kind of sort of rugged kind of looking. So he might wear like a sort of, you know, bit of a worn in leather jacket or sort of stuff like that. It's kind of so it's kind of analyzing those points and trying to discover what it is in somebody that they like wearing, and then sort of carry that through to other areas. So they might like that particular jumper, but then they can sort of like almost translate that into a jacket. Don't know if that makes sense at all.
Yeah, it makes sense. So I guess I was just going to say, do you get many people that are resistant when you're trying to kind of introduce new items? But I guess if they've come to you, they've already made the decision that they need help. But I was just interested whether, you know, when you're trying to understand somebody's style personality, whether or not they're a little bit resistant in some suggestions that you might make.
No, occasionally, no, generally, like you say, they've made the decision to come to me, so they're totally open. And men actually, more than when I've worked with women, men are much more like, yep, I'm in your hands, you know, I'll try anything. And yes, once they start to try stuff, they might be like, no, I prefer that, or yeah, no, actually, I don't think I'm going to wear that. But they're much more open to suggestion. So yeah, once they've made that decision. But sometimes, I suppose for me, the hardest bit is to kind of take where they're at and take that further and kind of like enhance everything about them. Make them the best version of themselves without going too far and sort of getting stuff they're never going to wear and is never going to fit into their lifestyle.
Yeah.
And that sort of, usually I think I can tell, but sometimes if you're on a shopping trip, they might get quite excited and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to get that. And they want to get it done in one go. So they might sort of, they're in the mood and they're going to buy everything, but I don't want them to be buying loads of stuff then going to tell me in a year's time that they've never worn, or they didn't feel brave enough to wear, whereas when they're in the shop it felt different. I don't want them to do that. So I do try and sort of make sure that, you know, they know exactly how they're going to wear it with the other things that we've bought, and B, sort of just try and gauge kind of how, you know, how they look when they come out of the changing rooms, and whether from what else we've bought, whether they're going to wear it. So yeah, because that's important. I think it's like you don't want to feel like you're in someone else's clothes. You just want to feel the best version of yourself. So yeah, but yeah, mainly people are quite open to suggestions. Yeah,
amazing. And I guess kind of you're almost helping them build a capsule wardrobe, so they know what goes together and how they can wear that, so it works for them in their day-to-day life.
Yeah, so usually actually I write a list of outfits for them afterwards from the things that we bought. So and people do find that really useful, because they'll you know, they might at first they might be like, yeah, I'm going to wear that, and then they might be wearing it as one outfit, and then they'll refer back to the list and be like, oh no, actually I can wear it with that. So people have literally said, yeah, I referred to my list, you know, 4 years down the line, they'll come back and say, yeah, I'm still looking at that list of outfits you gave me.
That's amazing.
Which is really sweet. I know, yeah. So I think that's kind of an important part of it, because if you're just buying one-off kind of pieces, and that's probably where some people come a little bit unstuck as well. They might buy one new thing, but they don't know what to wear it with. So I think it's important to have it as a whole complete outfit, and, you know, things that work together. So I usually try and think, you know, if you get a new jacket, can you wear it with, you know, 3 different pairs of trousers? If you get a pair of trousers, have you got 3 different tops you can wear it with? So I try and think of sort of things in threes, rather than getting, right, here's one outfit, here's another outfit, here's another, more to sort of be able to mix and match quite easily.
And I guess that's, you know, you do wardrobe edits as well, so it's kind of like that, stopping the whole. Gosh, that would be tiring, wouldn't it? Imagine how big you'd need a wardrobe if you were like, there's only that's one outfit, that's another outfit. So
yeah,
because you do offer, there's kind of not just the color and style consultations as well that you offer, isn't there? So there's like wardrobe editing. Talk to me about the other services that you offer.
So so the color and style is basically doing, like I said, doing the color drapes and stuff, looking at their shape and advising on what's best for their shape, and going into the style personality thing a little bit. The wardrobe edits is we go through their wardrobe, and anything that looks really dated, often people won't have tried stuff on for ages, so they'll try it on, it's too big, it's too small, it might look a bit dated in terms of. So what I find is sometimes older guys especially will wear things that are quite big on them, and what I think that gives the impression as well, what you tend to find is, like, I think people shrink a little bit as they get older, and so sometimes you see older guys, like much older guys, who've, like, you know, got the suit jacket out the wardrobe and it's kind of too big on them and it looks it. So I think you don't want to look like that person that's, you know, dragged out this thing from the wardrobe and actually you haven't worn it for years and you shrunk a bit, because it just makes you look older, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I think it's important to try stuff on and, you know, see how it makes you feel, because you might be like, oh no, actually I associate that with that time of my life, and you don't want to feel like that anymore as well. And you want it to make you feel quite happy. And then, to see if there's, I mean, what you tend to find in men's wardrobes is you don't get the loads of stuff hanging that hasn't been worn, which you tend to get in women's wardrobes. You'll find generally that everything's worn to death, and sometimes you need to replace it, because guys don't like shopping. So so I'll go through, we'll try everything on. We'll keep some stuff. Other things we'll, say, that needs to go to charity or donate somewhere. And then I make a shopping list of stuff that we should get on the shopping trip, and then we can go shopping. And what I do is I go out the day before to the shops, and I sometimes put stuff by, depends where we're going. but some stylists write notes on what I can find. So I'll have, you know, like smart chinos, desert boots, whatever, smart casual jacket, whatever it might be. And then I'll be like, oh, actually, I think that one will look good, and that's within his price range. And so I'll write some notes on it. So then we'll meet up. And then I'll literally kind of plan a bit of a route around the shops. We go to the shops, I'll pick the stuff out, say, try this on. And then once we've got a few things we like, we can start putting outfits together. Sometimes that happens in the first shop. And sometimes, you know, we might find, you know, one jacket in one shop and one pair of trousers in another shop, but sort of making sure they're all going together. That's sort of, and then I write the list of outfits afterwards, and it's usually, amazingly, people say it's fun. So even guys, they say it's fun shopping, because I suppose because they're achieving what they want to achieve, and they're not wandering aimlessly around thinking, oh, I'm going to go for a coffee now, I'm bored. So so they've got someone there, you know, and then obviously if you need to swap sizes over, it's much easier because I can just go and grab them rather than trying to find a shop assistant. Go, excuse me, and they're like, I can't leave the fitting rooms. And then so before any of that happens, basically, as well, I send them out a questionnaire, so it gets them thinking. So it's first sort of basics like you know, sizes and stuff. And then it's more about, you know, are there any bits of your body you like or dislike? Is there anything sort of clothing wise you like or dislike? And are there any celebrities that you sort of think you aspire to kind of look like, or you think they look cool? So it kind of gives me an idea, and it also gives them a bit more of an idea, and they start to think about things as well, because I might not have thought about it, like you said, ages. So it sort of gives them a bit of a starting point too.
And I think that's a really good thing to do, because, you know, a lot of people who find themselves newly single later in life just haven't even thought about it, don't even know where to start. So I guess that questioning is just gonna make them make the cogs start whirring, and actually, well, who would I want to look like, you know?
Exactly. Because if you don't, you've got to have some sort of, I think most people do have an idea, they just haven't necessarily thought about it, not been asked the questions maybe. So when you go to the shop, some people are like, oh, I've got no style. It's like, actually you have. Even some people with I would say have got quite a strong style that they like. Sometimes have said to me, oh, I haven't got any style. It's like, you just haven't realized what it is or thought about it much. But actually, when you go in the shops, they're like, no, I don't like that. Yes, I do like that. And they'd be quite clear about what they like and dislike. They just haven't sort of thought about it or analysed it very much.
And I guess, does it go back to I said about the fact that, you know, sometimes narrowing it down can make them be braver. Do you find that by identifying that style, because I know, you know, just thinking of some people that I've worked with, it could be like, oh, I'd love to look like so and so, but I could never achieve that. Do you find that kind of, you know, your advice and your guidance will actually just make them realize, yes, you can, and this is how we do it?
So obviously you can't change their body shape, or if if they're kind of like, I want to look like George Clooney and they've got no hair, they're not going to look that similar. But they could look like Stanley, that's not a bad thing. I suppose it's just helping them. People are like, oh, I don't think I could wear that, and it's like, you could wear a version of that. It might be a slightly toned down version, perhaps. But you could wear, you know, the reason, I suppose you're analysing the reason that person looks good is, oh, they've finished off their outfit, they've got a really nice scarf on, and actually, you know, look, they've got a little bit of sock showing, and it kind of picks out one of the colours in their shirt. It might be like little details like that just finish stuff off and end up making you think, you know, that might be a celebrity. Oh, that's why that person looks good, because, you know, yes, I got that outfit. It might be even basic jeans and a t-shirt, something, but actually they've got that, you know, that nice belt with it, or that nice watch, or just those sort of little details. Or actually, one thing that I noticed was, or I think makes a big difference, is glasses. Actually, a lot of people wear glasses, so updating your glasses, I think, makes a big difference. And I used to work quite a lot with a blogger called Grey Fox, who's an older, he's about, I think he's 64 or something now, so in mid 60s. And he blogs about style for the older man. And I noticed, and actually I did do a blog post, it was a while ago, for him now, because I said to him, I came across some pictures of him when he first started his blog. So he started around the same time as me. And I thought, there's a difference that I can see between how he looks like now and how he to start with. And it was quite subtle, but he just looks more polished. And I think it was partly to do with his hair, actually. And he said he'd been going to the same barber, and he has got hair, but he'd slightly changed what he'd done to it, and it made a really big difference. And I think he'd used a little bit of product in it, and it made such a difference as to how sort of polished, I suppose, he looked. And it was quite cool. I hadn't even noticed it until I came across that old picture, and I was like, there's a difference. So I was trying to analyze what it was. But he's very experimental, actually. So it's like trying lots of different things. And he's a good person to follow, actually, for your listeners.
I'll hunt him down and put the details.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy too.
Good. And I think that's it. I mean, I'm looking through. I'll put your details in the show notes as well, because I think some of your blogs and the information that you've got on your website is just gold for kind of our audience. You know, it's and it's the ones that you're putting out there. It's not just about the clothes and the suggestions that you make, although I do love that, and the fact that your blogs and your information are very visual. So it's not just, why don't you try this type of jacket? You've got several pictures there so people can see the different ways to put it together and you know what it looks like, because I'm sure if you know, with some of our listeners and viewers, if we said something like, oh, you'd look really nice in a peacoat, they probably would have no idea what I was talking about.
That's true.
So I love the fact that all of your information on your website is so visual and people can pick something out of them really easily. But what I also love is some of the other bits that you put in, such as what should you wear for your online dating photographs? You know, what sort of thing do you wear for a first date? And I love that. And I think what's just reminded me of that is you talking about the glasses and the watch and the belt and things. And it is those small accessories can make such a difference.
And I think also women notice those. I did do a little survey actually ages ago, and the sort of things women, so it's only like a few friends and people that I knew, but about what they like to see guys in. And they were saying they were definitely jeans, but jeans that fitted well, and you have to look at your bottom. That's a big bit of advice. If you're trying on a pair of jeans, turn around and look at your bottom, because I think lots of guys tend to go for baggier, looser ones. And as you get older, your bum gets a bit flatter, and that can sort of enhance it if you've got like these sort of really baggy jeans on. And I remember taking a guy shopping years ago, and he put the first pair of jeans on. He's like, oh, they're all right, aren't they? I was like, no. I'm trying to like 10 tons better, Or sometimes you look at them from the front, you're like, yeah, they look good. Well, do a little twirl for me. Like, oh no, we can't have those. That's old man bum. We can't have that. And then you find ones that sorry, that's a technical term. That and then you find ones that are like nicer and enhance so much more. So I think so. So the women said they did like jeans. They liked shirts rather than a little bit more than t-shirts. They liked quite tactile things, which was really interesting. So things like cashmere and maybe sort of cord or suede jackets and stuff like that. So that was quite interesting. They liked people to have some sort of accessories. And I also think that's quite a good sort of talking point as well, isn't it? If you've got a nice belt on, or maybe a scarf, or even a hat or something. So or cool glasses. Actually, and I did once meet a guy at a networking thing, and I wanted to talk to him because he had these really cool red glasses on. And he told me he'd become single, and they'd sort of almost changed his life because loads of people came and talked to him because of his glasses. And he felt so much more confident. It was amazing. It was a great story. I was like, oh my God, this is just brilliant. So stuff like that. It was like people, kind of wanted to know him because he got these sort of quite funky red glasses on. So so I think like details like that are important, and women will definitely notice stuff like that. Especially actually one friends told me she noticed, she went on a date once and she said the guy crossed his legs and she could see that he had a massive hole in his socks because it was kind of on the heel and it was showing at the top. Yes, that's a what not to do.
No holy socks
No
on a
holy socks.
date. And I think that's it. It's the little things, isn't it? I don't know if men necessarily think about it as much as women do, but it is those little things, you know. It's if they've got holes in their socks or if their shoes are dirty.
Oh yeah,
I mean, that's a massive thing. And
yeah.
you know, even from me personally, I remember having a conversation with one of my aunties when I was, I mean, this is like 30 odd years ago, when I was much younger, and she said to me, whenever you're meeting someone, always look at their shoes, because if they can't look after their shoes, they can't look after you.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's, and that stuck with me. It's probably because I love shoes as well, but you know, that's stuck with me. And it's things like you know, holy socks, and it's just around, people notice those little things, and it just kind of builds up again. It builds up more of an impression that you've actually made an effort.
Well, I think that's really important, yeah, because I think if you turn up and it doesn't look like you've made the effort, the woman is going to think, oh, this date wasn't important to him. He doesn't really care. You know, why should I be bothered? And it's sort of, yeah, it just gives. They might care a lot, but it's giving that impression that they couldn't be bothered to dress up for it. It wasn't important enough. Because if you think about it, you know, the dresses. I know people think dressing and how you dress is frivolous, but if you think about it, like throughout the ages, any sort of ceremony and, you know, anything like that is, a lot of it is to do with how you're dressing. And it might be, you know, fancy robes or the crown that King Charles is about to be coronated with. Like anything like that, they are a significant part of, you know, you have uniforms for policemen and pilots and stuff. You kind of trust people a bit more in a uniform. So you do associate it, even though people just always have this thing that clothes are frivolous and they're girls stuff. They're not. They, you know, if you look at history, they're, you know, I don't know, Henry VIII was like wearing these massive shoulders. It made him look powerful. Like it's been, you know, there's lots of evidence of it throughout history. It's not just silly girl stuff.
No, not at all. And I think it can very much change the way you feel. And you know, you must see this quite a lot. So if you're dealing with someone who, even if you go back to the jeans, or when you mentioned that they will wear clothes that are bigger, to, you know, I think having something that fits well, and that complements your, you know, your skin tone and that kind of thing, can change how you feel about yourself massively.
Definitely, yeah. And then also as well, if so, somebody I dressed, I can't remember what the colour was actually, but we bought a jumper and it was in a colour that I think it was some sort of green, but he said he never would have chosen that himself. But then he said when he went out with some girlfriends, didn't have a girlfriend, but when he went out with some friends who were girls, and they all said to him, that colour looks really nice on you. And then again, that sort of builds your confidence even more as well when you get a compliment. Lots of people say they get compliments actually after we've been shopping, which is really lovely to hear. So and someone said he got a compliment. I think it was from a stranger, or he said it's the first time I've ever been complimented. And I was like, really? Oh my God, that's amazing. I know, that was so sweet. I was like, oh, bless.
And it does. I don't think people realize kind of the power behind the clothes they wear.
Definitely. Yeah.
You know, and I think you talk to a lot of people, and sometimes, you know, if they've got a particular, you know, for instance, wearing a suit, like you say, it's very easy to put someone in a suit, and that immediately changes the way that they hold themselves. You know, and a lot of people will say that they put their suit on when they go to work, and it's almost like not their armor, but you know, that is it's putting on a particular persona. And I think if you can find the right clothing, there is a lot of power within that. for kind of your own self-esteem.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And especially if you're a little bit nervous about going on a date, you might not have been on a date for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And imagine if you've been for absolutely years, it is really nerve-wracking.
Mm.
Even if you like me, it's kind of nerve-wracking because I suppose because you think you're going to be judged and everything. But if you're feeling good in what you wear, then yeah, you start off feeling confident, and then if you get a compliment, you feel even better. And so yeah, it's kind of a kind of snowball effect, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it helps put forward the best version of you as well, doesn't it? And I think that is massive for your confidence as well. Like you say, even if you're the most confident person that loves meeting people, you know, that first date after you've been single for you haven't been single for such a long time can be quite fear-inducing for a lot of people.
And people I know on the sort of dating scene, people are like, oh, but you know, they should love me for who I am and stuff. But you know, you're not if you can't be like to meet someone who's going to get to know you because they didn't really like the way you looked. If you've been to a singles event and they're like, oh, don't you want to talk to him because they're not particularly attracted to how you're looking and how you're dressed, then you don't get beyond that. Somebody never gets to know you because you don't really get beyond that. So I think in a way, if you can break down that initial barrier by sort of being, you know, feeling good, and if you're feeling good, you feel a bit more open to talking to people, then why not do that? You're going to help yourself, and then people, will love you for how you look and what you like inside.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to the person you were talking about with the red glasses. Even if we deal with a lot of people. I speak to quite a lot of people that are older and they're single now, and it's like, oh well, I don't really think I'm that good looking, or I don't have that much to offer, like visually or what have you. And actually clothes can make such a difference to that, because if you're well dressed, and it doesn't mean you have to be in designer clothes or anything like that, you just need to be in something that fits well and complements you. That can make, as well as individually, it makes you feel better, but that just, I think, can increase your attractiveness to other people, because you are emanating that confidence in what you're wearing, and confidence is so attractive.
That's the most attractive thing, isn't it? And even if people, like, if they haven't got hair, but then you can use lots of other things to give yourself sort of, because you don't have that kind of silhouette of your hair, but you can use your glasses. Then maybe you can have a whole wardrobe of different glasses that you like wearing, or you can have nice scarves, or you can build a whole collection of hats or whatever. So there's sort of things you can do, or maybe then even the color is even more important, because if you don't have your hair framing your face, then you've got a nice color framing your face, and it gives you like a strong line, etc. So things like that, it doesn't. You can, I've worked with guys that are all sorts of shapes and sizes, and no matter what shape or size they are, there are definitely things that will look much better than other things. There's definitely the right choice and the wrong choice, and it will make them look more attractive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's, it's the thing as well with older men not having hair. There are a myriad of people out there, a myriad of older men out there that have no hair, that lots of women find incredibly attractive. So, it isn't about just having hair.
And like you say, the whole confidence thing is really attractive. And absolutely, it doesn't make that much difference, I don't think.
I think that is really important. I'm just trying to see, I've got loads of questions. I'm just trying to see. So I was just thinking that I was looking at one of your blogs earlier, and the one about online dating photos, and obviously if people come to us as well, so we're a matchmaking service, so we get for most of our packages, we get professional photographs done for our clients, and those are what are sent to the potential matches for them. So it is, it's kind of quite a higher level than just an online dating photograph. But you mentioned in there, so we've covered a lot of that, which is the wear color and make sure your clothes fit well.
Yeah.
But you mentioned in there as well about including a range of looks.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I think it's good for people to sort of imagine you a little bit in that scenario of when they'll be meeting you. So I think it's maybe good to have one kind of smarter look if you are going to a really nice restaurant or a smart bar or something. But I think it's kind of really important to have probably maybe 2 or 3 different looks of that smart casual type thing, because that covers everything. And then maybe one that's a little bit more casual. So maybe it's going for a walk in the park or just meeting for a coffee in the day. You don't want to like turn up and they're a bit like, where's he going afterwards? You know, it's sort of, you don't want to inappropriate for the day.
Yeah.
So I think, it's good to have those. I know one dating photographer, they kind of encourage people to have like sportswear and stuff. If they're like into tennis or whatever, then they're like, bring your racket and whatever you'd wear, or wear a tracksuit or whatever. So I think that's to show a bit of personality in a range of kind of scenarios. So somebody be like, oh yeah, he likes tennis, I like tennis too. Although I do yoga, and if I was having online dating photographs, I don't think I particularly want to be photographed in my yoga outfit. So I was thinking about that the other day. I'm like, not sure. Anyway, if you are, if you're into running or whatever. So I think it's so people can sort of imagine you in that scenario, and they're not like, oh, he just does this, you know. If you've just got a casual look, for instance, and you're going to go to a nice smart bar, they're like, is he going to turn up in just that? But you don't want to have just a suity look, and they're like, well, what does he look like when he's dressed really casually? Or does he
what do you look like in normal life? Because you don't go around wearing a suit all the time.
Exactly. And then you they might be like, well, that's the best version, but I kind of want the real version too. So I think it's a bit of a range there. I mean, with dating photos, I suppose it depends where if you're doing them in a studio or outside. If you can have lots of accessories and things with you, or a few different layers, so you can take things on and off quite easily and get a different range of looks, then that really helps, especially if you're outside. It's not easy to go and get changed, so it's better to have a few more tops than so you might have, say, like, I don't know, maybe a t-shirt and then a shirt buttoned up over the top, and then you just take that off, and you've got a jacket over the top and a scarf you can put with it, and maybe sunglasses or whatever you can take on and off, so you get a few different looks, but with that are kind of easy to change.
And do you find that kind of with the accessories wise, because I know that's one of the other things as well, is adding the accessories, do you find that some people can be resistant to that? I'm just thinking, like, some of the people that I work with, you know, the only jewelry they've ever worn is their wedding ring. If they don't wear glasses, it can be, they might, they're not going to have that. But it's things like some of the people I've worked with, even just scarves, even just to get them to look at wearing a scarf, or, like a nice belt or something like that. Do you find that can be a bit of a struggle to get?
A little bit, so I find some people are really into it and some people aren't. Like, I took one guy shopping, and we went to the Paul Smith sale shop, and Paul Smith does beautiful scarves, and they have a specific, which is always on sale. We got about 10 scarves. It was amazing. I was like, oh my God, this is brilliant.
I never get to do this.
So some people, what I find is guys are quite functional. So so I'll say to them, what about a nice scarf? Thinking, well, that'll look nice. It'll bring all these colours together. And they'd be like, yeah, but I don't get cold. I never wear a scarf. You're like, well, okay then. So it's or like a different belt, and they're like, well, I've got a black one or a brown one. You're like, you could have one with some different colours in it, like, so one of those woven ones that just gives a little bit of interest, especially if you just wearing, say, a shirt and a pair of jeans, or a t-shirt and a pair of jeans or something. To have a nice belt that sort of just adds in a little bit of interest is kind of, can help, because obviously you don't have as many opportunities to accessorize as a woman, but that can just help create a little bit of interest. So but yeah, I think guys see it quite often as just a purely functional thing, like a belt holds up my trousers, I don't need to wear a belt with these trousers because they stay up without it. So it can be a little bit like that can be a bit of a challenge. But yeah, sometimes, but you know, I think perhaps they just don't realize how much of an impact it makes. To, yeah, or they might be like, yeah, I've got a black scarf, that's it. And you're like, well, but you could have another one. You could have, you know, like a blue and black check one that might look slightly more stylish. So it's
I've got one.
Just encouraging. Try and yeah, exactly. So it's they think of it sort of purely functional. I think a lot of guys do, but yeah, but I try and suggest it at least, because it makes a bit of a difference. And you know, just nice socks, even if you get like a little flash of the socks, it's just sort of brings things together a bit or adds a little bit of interest. And I suppose, you know, you don't have maybe as much of a variety of things that you can do. It's a shirt and trousers basically for guys, isn't it? A lot of the time it might be different overshots and stuff, but within that I think accessories, so you could put two guys in exactly the same thing, you know, like a pale blue shirt and a pair of jeans, for instance, but their accessories could be quite different, and that might tell you a lot more about who they are, what sort of look. So one might go really classic, one might go a little bit more funky, you know, so it's kind of, it can tell you quite a lot about them. And it's, you know, it's kind of, it's quite fun as well.
And like you say, it's really good kind of conversation starters, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So, you know, if you've got someone in a pretty kind of standard classic outfit, but they've got bright yellow socks on or what have you, you know, that picks out some elements of what they're wearing, or a nice watch or a nice belt or scarf, nice scarf. So, you know, it can be a conversation starter.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm always going up to, oh, I like that. It's like I think like I said, I think women do notice, and a lot of people, when I did my little mini survey, lots of people said accessories, that they notice stuff like that. So I think it's worthwhile exploring them for a start. And you know, they don't have to be sort of super expensive. It's just, I mean, maybe watches are a whole other sort of section, I think, on their own. But you know, have to be super expensive. It can just be sort of a bit more, just you know, John Lewis and stuff have nice scarves, for instance. I've got things from there before. So just something to maybe be aware of. People haven't thought about it quite often. So just being aware of that there are other things out there that you could try.
Amazing. Wow, that's all my questions, I think. Apart from the really important ones, is where can people find you?
So people can find me, my website is Sartoria Lab, so it's SARTORIA Lab, or one word, .co.uk. So and my blog, I've got lots of blog posts on there, so I write a blog post every fortnight. It's under Style Tips tab, so lots of info there. And I also write a newsletter, so my blog sort of gets sent out in my newsletter, and sometimes other little bits and pieces as well. So that's the main place to find me. I'm on Instagram, so I do sort of share kind of a few tips and stuff on there as well. So yeah, that's probably the main places to find me.
Amazing. I will put all of this in the show notes.
Yeah, great, thank you.
So thank you so much for today. It's been amazing, and so much really useful information in there. So yeah, I will put everything in the show notes so everybody can find you. So thanks very much.
Thank you for having me. It's really fun talking to you.
Thank you.